Hi everyone, a big welcome to this year's Women Innovation Competition Brief event. I am Veronica, Diversity and Inclusion Partner at Innovate KTN and Program Lead for the Women in Innovation Award. I will be your host today for what we hope to be an insightful, inspiring and motivating event. We have prepared a series of sessions for the next 2.5 hours. Emily Knott, Head of D&I Programs at Innovate UK, will deliver an opening address to you all. You will hear from inspiring leaders in business innovation and from past and current Women in Innovation Award holders. And you will also have the opportunity to find out more about the scope of the program and about this year's application process from our Innovate UK colleagues Hasna Zaher and John Manser. Before we start, I would like to mention a couple of housekeeping notes. We have the Q&A and the chat functions available throughout the day so that you can ask questions to the panel members, seek further clarification to the competition process, or network with fellow attendees. Please use the chat box if you would like to introduce yourselves and for any reactions or thoughts you might like to share. Also, the closed captioning function is enabled for anyone who might need to use it, and this event will be recorded and added as a resource on the KTN event page. Before we start, I would also like to kindly encourage all of you, if possible, to turn off any notifications you might have on your laptops and mobile phones. Sit back, embrace a learning all mindset, dedicate your full attention to the sessions, and engage as much as possible throughout the day. I now have the pleasure to introduce my colleague Emily Knotts, Head of Diversity Inclusion Programs at Innovate UK, for her opening address. Emily, over to you.
Thank you, Veronica, and hello and welcome to all of you here today. I'm very excited to be here at this briefing event for our Women in Innovation Awards. Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey we've been on, and I'd like to start really by telling you a bit about that journey and explain to you why Women in Innovation is such an important part of the work that we do at Innovate UK. So I've been leading on promoting equality, diversity and inclusion at Innovate UK since 2016. Now, we're the UK's innovation agency. So what we need to do is make the UK world leading in innovation. And if we're going to achieve that, it's only going to be possible if we fully harness all the potential we have from the diverse talent that's available for us for innovation in the UK. This represents quite significant challenge, but a really, really amazing and huge opportunity for the UK. It's going to unlock massive economic and societal benefits for us. So our focus, the bit that I work on, the bit that I'm promoting with the work that we do, is inspiring, involving and investing in diverse innovation talent now and for the future. And Women in Innovation is obviously central to this. It's been an important part of this, and it will continue to be a very important part of making that happen going forwards. So I initiated Women in Innovation back in 2016, and the first competition for awards that we ran was in June of that year. Before we launched the programme, we did a bit of research. So we started off looking at data we had about who was applying to Innovate UK and who was successful with our support. And we found, when we looked at our data, that only 1 in 7, that's 14% of lead applicants for Innovate UK competitions were women. When we looked at success rates, we found actually there wasn't a significant difference between the success rates for women and men applying for our support. We also carried out some interviews with women innovators at that time, and we heard from those interviews the importance of having access to the right networks. We heard about the importance of role models and actually a lack of relatable role models for women innovators. We heard about how central mentors were to helping women lead successful businesses. And we heard that there was a very low visibility and awareness of Innovate UK and the support that we could offer to women-led businesses. And the biggest challenge that we heard that women were facing was access to funding and finance. So learning from all of that research that we did at the time, our goals for Women in Innovation were threefold. Firstly, we wanted to find more women across the UK that we knew were out there innovating with amazing ideas and providing those women with access to the right support at the right time. Secondly, we wanted to create new relatable role models for many more women and girls to move into innovation for the future. And then lastly, and really importantly, we wanted to build a new community of women in innovation and raise visibility within this community of all the support that is available, but also provide a platform for the women within that community to come together and support each other, which we see, huge value from. I'm really, really proud of Women in Innovation. So far, we've provided 118 women with awards, and we've built up a really strong women in innovation community of over 9,500 women. We've seen a significant boost in the number of women engaging with Innovate UK and our competitions, around a 70% increase, and a continuous growth of interest and engagement in women in innovation as a whole. But there is definitely still more to be done. So in 2019, the Rose Review, which I'm sure most of you will have heard of, highlighted that if women started and scaled new businesses at the same rate as men in the UK, that could unlock up to 250 billion for the UK economy. At this point in time, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs is a woman, and that represents a gap of 1.1 million missing businesses in the UK. We know that male-led SMEs are 5 times more likely to scale their businesses up to 1 million turnover than female-led SMEs. And we know that there are significant diversity challenges in the investment community, and early stage investment for innovative businesses is essential. So this is a real issue. In 2019, research showed that only 1p in every £1 of venture capital funding was invested in the UK in businesses with all female founded teams. And that compared to 89 pence of a pound going into all male founded teams. So what we need are more women leaders in innovation. We need more women growing and scaling innovative businesses. We need more role models so that we can inspire more women and girls into innovation for the future. We need more mentors for women innovators. And really importantly, alongside that, we need more women in the investment community as well. But what I see with the work that we're doing with women in innovation is an incredible resilience from this community of women leading these businesses that we're working with, particularly over recent years, you know, with COVID, and now as we are facing rising costs and inflation. We see commitment and dedication to the businesses that these women are leading. Many of these businesses which are built around tackling challenges that link to their lived experiences or are all about making a really positive contribution to our society and environment. And we see a huge will to give back from these women, to support others, to help create positive change within the innovation system as a whole, and particularly within the sectors that they're engaging with. And a lot of work and investment of time in inspiring future generations and being those role models. So this, as a community, is incredibly powerful. We've got a lot to be very positive about, and we've got a very strong foundation to build upon, and that's exactly what we are intending to do. So today is a briefing event for the 5th competition for our Women in Innovation Awards. As I said, very exciting that we are at this point. And in the new year, we will be announcing up to 50 more award winners through the programme. So that's really all I wanted to say as a kind of initial welcome. I hope everybody here today finds this event really helpful, full of inspiration, but also I hope you'll find it practically useful in terms of the information that you get. And if you aren't already an active member of our Women in Innovation community, I hope today is the start of you joining that community and engaging with us for the future. So that's it from me for now. I'd now like to hand over to Hasna, who's going to give you a bit more information on the competition for our awards itself. So Hasna, over to you.
Thank you, Emily. I was going to wait for the slides to come up and then I'll get started. So I'll introduce myself first anyway. So my name is Hasna Zahir, and good morning everyone who's on this webinar. I'm so glad that you guys have joined us, that you're interested in applying for the Women in Innovation programme. I am the innovation lead at Innovate UK, and I will give you an overview of the programme today. So can I have the next slide, please? One back, please. So there we go, perfect, thank you. Thanks, Chloe. So I'm going to cover a few things that Emily has said, but also expand on a few points as well. So just to give you a quick overview on Innovate UK, and you mentioned that we are the innovation agency of the UK, and we aim to drive productivity and economic growth by supporting businesses to develop new ideas. And we connect businesses to people that can help them, and that's one of the key parts of our programme, and to fund businesses and research collaboration in all economic sectors, value chains, and all UK regions as well to accelerate innovation. And at Innovate UK, we are committed to encouraging diversity and inclusion in business innovation as outlined in our plan for action. Next slide, please. So we want to find the best and most talented innovators from a diverse range of backgrounds and provide them with the resources, advice, and self-belief to succeed. Because a good idea can come from anyone, no matter where you're from, no matter what background, a good idea can come from anyone. And to access that full talent available in the UK, we need to increase the visibility and accessibility of our support. And as Emily has mentioned, all the facts and figures out there about how diversity is proven to lead to economic growth and the impact it can have on businesses and on innovation in the UK. So we are committed to shining the spotlight on underrepresentation in innovation and taking action where we can make a positive difference, which we are doing through our targeted programs that we've been doing for the last 6 years. So we've got the Young Innovators Program and we've got the Women in Innovation Program, which you guys are here to listen to learn more about today. So next slide, please. As you've seen from the video introduction today, and you've heard from Emily a bit, our Women in Innovation Program is about shattering stereotypes and creating an innovation system that is fair and open and inclusive to all. The aim of this competition is to find pioneering women with innovative ideas and ambitious plan that will inspire others. We want to have we were looking for role models of the future, business leaders of the future, those who can inspire the next generation, those within their region as well, and those within their sector. We want to support women who are at critical stages with their business, where an award will enable them to take an important step forward. And each winner will receive each winner will receive a £50,000 grant and a bespoke package of business coaching and mentoring. So it's not just about the grant. That will have a big impact on your business, but it's also about the support we provide to make you the business leader, to provide to basically promote you and get you to become one of the role models of the future, you know, and get you to become one of the leaders out there as well, and that mentoring and support that we can provide. So next slide, please. So Emily's covered this a bit already. So how did this all begin? I'm just going to go through our little timeline we have here. So back in 2016, as Emily said, we commissioned a research with Women Innovators where we interviewed 221 women. And headlines from this is that a third of women said that they had perceived that being a woman had had a negative impact on their career. They told us that being part of the right networks was important, and the power of mentors and role models has had on them. And of course, we know from all the research out there and findings that access and funding is a huge challenge. And we found that there was a lack of awareness of opportunities. And our data did show that 1 in 7 applications, so as Emily said, 14%, to Innovate UK were led by women. But there was no statistically significant difference between the success rates of men and women. So it's really important about getting more women applying to Innovate UK and leading those applications. So when we see that the main challenges are funding and finance, having the relatable role models and that peer network, the importance of mentors and the low awareness of support available, Emily created the Women in Innovation Program, where we funded 15 women, provided 15 women with a 50k grant and gave an additional 16 women tailored business support. In 2018, we awarded 9 more women who were tackling society's biggest challenges. We also launched a Purple Plaque campaign to showcase the fantastic women we have supported across the country at schools that are close to them. So these award holders went into the schools, delivered assemblies or practical workshops to inspire the next generation. And this was to create the role models and challenge perceptions of what and who an innovator or entrepreneur is. And the aim was to encourage and support women-led businesses to engage with schools as well. At the same time, we also started exploring a partnership with Founders for Schools to connect our amazing women with young people to inspire the next generation of innovators and to enable these women, our Women in Innovation community, a digital platform where they can access opportunities to give career talks or take part in activities or workshops and become mentors to these young people. We have continued this partnership throughout the program. It is something that we're continuing with this wave as well. So this opportunity will be available to our award holders this year again. So in 2020, we launched Wave 3 and increased the number of awards to 40 brilliant women who are relatable role models and expanded our outreach activities with Founders for Schools. And in 2021, we funded another 38 women and addressed the underrepresentation we had in previous competition. Next slide, please, Chloe. So this year's competition, we are looking to support up to 50 women. The aim of this competition is to fund and support a diverse portfolio of women, those who will be a relatable role model for women from all backgrounds, from all regions from the UK, who are trying to solve a range of pressing societal, environmental and economic challenges, and in a variety of innovation areas. Your proposal must identify clearly evidence pressing societal, environmental and or economic challenges and how your project and innovation can help solve them. And as I said, the applications can be from any innovation area or any sector. So what the package of support includes, it is a 12-month project, so you are expected to start on the 1st of April 2023. And it is and you will receive a £50,000 grant, which will be paid upfront in instalments. The winners will receive tailored business support and coaching from an innovation growth specialist, who will provide support to help their businesses grow and scale, provide a whole suite of dedicated support. And there's a variety of different things that were provided, including personal branding, self-care, pitch readiness, women on boards, becoming a role model. There's a range of different support that can be provided. So Innovate UK KTN will also be on hand throughout the awards to provide expert advice sessions and access to networks and peer networking. And that's an important part of it, and something, the feedback we received from previous award holders, and you'll hear from today as well, is the importance of this peer networking and the peer support group that they build throughout the programme. The winners will also be provided with press and media support to become a role model in innovation. Our previous award holders have stated that the platform the competition gives them is hugely beneficial for their profile. We'll also introduce the winners of the Women in Innovation Programme to ambassadors and facilitate introductions with new business mentors as well. But we'll also connect you with our previous award holders who are our alumni, so you can continue building that peer network and engaging with other women innovators. So as you can see from what we offer, it is not just about the grant funding. There is a full package of support available, and that is what is important and makes this programme different. It is about you as a woman and providing the support you need to become a leader in business innovation. And I think that's me for now until I go through the scope later on. I think everyone's here for the leaders panel, are they, Veronica?
Yes, everyone is here, ready to go.
Brilliant. So I will hand back over to Emily for the leaders panel session.
Thank you, hasn't it? And it's lovely seeing all the people saying hello and good morning, and exciting to be here in the chat. It's really lovely seeing it all sort of flooding in. It's brilliant. So yeah, thanks for that kind of overview, Hasna. Yeah, so we're going to spend a little bit of time now on a panel discussion. And this is all about talking to a panel of leaders in innovation about how we can make the innovation ecosystem more diverse and inclusive, what our panel think the progress has been so far on this agenda, where we can do better, and the role of leadership in creating a positive change. So the panel is all here, and I'd like now just to start by inviting each of my panel members to kind of give a really quick introduction to themselves and their businesses. So Becky, do you want to kick us off on that, please?
Hello, everybody. So I'd like to say what an absolute delight it is to be with everybody today and sending you a virtual wave from the sunny South Coast, and thank you for including me. My name is Becky Lodge. I'm the founder of Little Kanga Limited. We're a management consulting company that actually started up in 2015. We operate in the university and also government space to actually help strategically better understand the world of startup and entrepreneurship, and also help shape in incubators and also funding provision for people in that space as well. I will go straight in with regard to some of the achievements that I've had, but I also want to talk a little bit about some of the barriers that I've met as well. I started a digital incubation community called Startup Disruptors off the back of a lot of Emily Knott's points earlier. In 2015-16, there was no help, there was no support. And because Innovate UK were just in their infancy then as well, and I actually attended a very, very early meeting. So off the back of this, I became super frustrated, as all entrepreneurs do, and I wanted to solve the problem that I could see, which was that women and neurodiverse entrepreneurs were vastly underrepresented in the region, in Portsmouth and the Solent region, which is very pale, male and stale. I can say that because I say it to them all the time to their face here. And I wanted to create a digital online community that reflected a very different offering. So we created Startup Disruptors, and that grew through third-party social media platforms to 2,000 people on Facebook in less than 18 months. Uber was our first sponsor. Nobody could believe that a woman had done that either. And I got questioned a lot on the validity of that and how we'd done that. I then got sponsorship from the University of Portsmouth Business School, and they're still one of our core sponsors. And we now work with Innovate UK, Knowledge Transfer Network, UK Business Angels Association, University of Essex, Angels at Essex Platform, Faster Capital, and many more venture capital companies around the world. My background previous to this was international sales and marketing. So I was an international sales and marketing director in very male-dominated markets. So I really understand the benefit of networks, which everybody spoke about earlier. I was lucky. I've spent 30 years building one, but other women aren't as lucky. So I've worked in engineering infrastructure and also in radio broadcast software. I'm degree and Chartered Institute of Marketing qualified, but despite looking like a middle-class, middle-aged Waitrose shopper, I was born in inner city Leicester in 1971, was educated for free, lucky me, at Manchester Metropolitan University. And I'm very, very vocal about giving the regions a stronger voice outside of London, both internationally and in the UK, because it seems that once you get outside of the bubble, you sort of drop off a cliff, and that's not good enough from what where I'm concerned in terms of what we're building. I'm on a Tech Rounds Women to Watch in Technology this year as well, and one of Sky News 100 Women in Business in 2017 for my work around gender parity and inclusion in the UK. And yeah, I won't stop, and I don't think we should stop. I'm part of Founders for Schools. I've done talks in schools, locally and regionally in the Solent region to actually improve our presence and show women and girls that actually there is the ability for us to grow and scale our businesses. And having to have seed funded my own business, it's very, very difficult for women to get funding. So that was another barrier that I wanted to remove in all the work that we were doing. So we're UK wide now, because obviously digital and online is UK, we can go UK wide, and the blokes were like, hang on a minute, I can't see 50 people in a pub. We were like, well, we're all online. So anybody here today that would like to be involved, then I did put my LinkedIn profile in the chat, and I'm super pumped to talk to everybody else today and see their amazing journeys. And what I would say is never ever give up. You're at the start of your journey. We're here to help you, and all of the panel will help you as much as possible. Please get involved with Innovate UK. They're amazing and they're doing amazing work. And don't struggle in the way that I had to in 2015, because you don't have to anymore. And that's really good news. So thank you very much to everybody here for giving me the opportunity to be included as well. I really, really appreciate it. So sorry, that's a long rambling introduction. But that probably gets everything out in the open, and I'm happy to answer the questions in the chat as well. And I really, really appreciate being here today and sharing my journey, which has just been terrifying and exhausting, but invigorating at the same time. So thank you all for welcoming me, and I can't wait to see the other panelists today.
Right, well, thank you very much. Yes, that was slightly longer than I was anticipating, Becky, but all really great. Lovely to hear that. And thanks for kind of like highlighting the kind of regional dimension and the importance of thinking about how we can make sure that we're working right across the UK on this agenda. So yeah, really fantastic to hear all of that and your journey. I'd like to hand over to Chen now to introduce herself.
Good morning, everybody. Really lovely to see you all today. My name is Dr. Chen Mao Davis. I'm the founder and CEO of Latchate. Latchate is a multi-award-winning fintech startup using cutting-edge 3D interactive technology and AI for breastfeeding and early parenthood support. So before Latchate, I had a dream career working on visual effects of blockbuster movies. And this includes Gravity and Blade Runner 2049, both won Oscar and BAFTA awards for best visual effects. But my life course has changed completely after I became a mother and experienced tremendous breastfeeding challenges. And my experience motivated me to found Latchate to revolutionize breastfeeding and early parenthood support using innovation and empathy. The Lache app now is proudly supporting parents from 93 countries across the world. Our 6 months pilot with 12 NHS trusts shows a doubling of exclusive breastfeeding rate at 6 weeks compared with the national average. We now have a team of 8 employees and just closed a £1 million seed funding round to take us to the next stage of development. Our impacts have been featured on over 60 press articles, BBC News and Sky News. We have won 4 Innovate UK funding competitions since 2020 and are fortunate enough to have been supported by Innovate UK and KTN, which rocket-fueled our startup journey. Winning the Women in Innovation Award is completely life-changing for me, and I would like to share my experience with you today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, really exciting to hear about the progress you've made and the impact of our Women in Innovation Award on that team of 8 and securing that 1 million investment recently into the business. Just absolutely fantastic. So we'll hear a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as we go through. So then lastly, Piers, over to you.
Hey guys, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me to even be here. I am the only bloke on the panel, so I'm going to try and do the impossible and try and keep this as brief as possible. So again, my name is Piers Jarrett. I'm the founder of Guan, which is an AI-powered personal trainer, which uses the front-facing camera on your phone. And using that, we can detect what exercise the user is doing, count the amount of reps they do, and then give them feedback on their form, really trying to motivate the users to be able to accomplish their goals. And yeah, I first got in touch with Innovate UK through winning the Young Innovators Award the year before last, and then off the back end of that, ended up being fortunate enough to win the follow-on fund as well. So as part of that, I'm here to support my fellow innovators in any way possible, and that's it.
Thanks, Piers. Yeah, so Piers, you mentioned the Young Innovators, which is another one of the programs that is part of the work that I do at Innovate UK. So that program is all about encouraging more young people with amazing ideas for innovation to be successful, and we're looking particularly for young people from diverse backgrounds and looking to demonstrate that there are lots of different routes and journeys into becoming an innovator and starting a business around your ideas. So yeah, really excited to hear more from you on the panel, Piers. Thanks for being here. So we've got a couple of topics to discuss, and I think we'll keep an eye on the chat as well, just to see if there's anything that comes in terms of questions from the audience for all of you. But what I wanted to start with is just kind of exploring with you your thoughts on progress so far that we're making in the UK to make the innovation system more diverse, more inclusive. What do you think the progress has been? What do you think is working? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I don't know who wants to kind of kick us off on that. Stand silence.
I'll go, but just stop me. Just stop me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stop me. Give me time there. What I would say is that, as I said earlier in my hurried introduction, is that I'm so glad that you're all here. And that isn't sort of like blowing smoke up somebody's backside type of thing. That's sort of actually saying, I was so devastated when I started out in 2015 that really all the doors were closed. So I think that it's phenomenal what you have done in such a short period of time. We made Portsmouth the #1 entrepreneurial city in 2020 with our digital incubator, and that was 4 years of work. So we achieved in 4 years what most people can't do in 2 decades. So I think that the pace of innovation is accelerating primarily because of the use of technology. But also what I would encourage people outside of our bubble to think about, and especially people on this call, is innovation's an ongoing process. We started offline. So if you're building, we want to build a tech platform, but we started offline. So what I would say to people is think about doing something offline to prove your market in the very early stages. And I actually got a venture capital mentor very early on. I was very lucky to do that. And he taught me that dominating your local area is absolutely critical because there's nobody else doing this locally to where we were. So I think in the UK, unlike other areas, you know, of high funding rates like Lisbon in Portugal, Silicon Valley, our challenges are very different. And I think that sort of progression has been slower, but is now starting to accelerate. And what we're going to see is a point of critical mass, I think, looking at data in about 5-10 years, we'll be in a very different environment to the one we're in now. But equally, the Rose Review has been pivotal in 2019. For those who aren't aware of that, please do take a look at it. The Investing in Women Code has been critical. And in 2015, when we started, as Emily knows, this wasn't legislation. So all of a sudden things become interesting when they're legislated for in Britain. So it is, very political. But what I would also say to people is don't be afraid to experiment and don't be afraid to go out there and have a go. No matter how many times somebody tells you no, it means no for now, not no for next week. So I would say we're making slow progress, but I would say you're going to get vilified because we do all the time. We've got a team of 3 now, wider team of 14, we're building. And because you represent the change, it's sometimes not even that you're a woman. It's sometimes that you represent a change that's going to force people out of business. It's going to force people to rethink what they're doing. So I would definitely say there's so much more to be done. I think, we're 10% of the way there with 90, 80, 90. Pareto works in everything, Pareto principle. So I'd say if we're 20% of the way there, we've still got 80%. I'd be interested to hear what Chen thinks about this as well, because obviously there's different issues depending on people's backgrounds, race, religion, culture, that they all sort of play in to this in different ways. There's multiple barriers from people that we've spoken to who are from minorities. So it's difficult, and we've still got a mass of work to do, but we need to be better at heroes. We need to be better at funding. I love the mentoring thing, but women just need money. We all need money. It's just as simple as that. And I'm very binary. So I think we need to make that accessibility easier. And I think we need to, for neurodiverse people, we need to make it simpler, especially for those with dyslexia, ADHD, ADD, goldfish gnat attention spans like mine. The process has to be more easily accessible and delivered in a way that people can understand it. And historically, it's been very corporate. And I think we're moving away from that. So hopefully that kind of covers it off. I'm very interested now to see what Piers thinks and what Chen thinks.
Yeah. Sorry, no, you go first, Jen.
Oh, sorry. I just want to add one. I think Becky covered really well everything I want to add, but just one thing I want to say is that Innovate UK's funding is so important to fund all sorts of businesses and all sorts of business ideas. For example, the first funding we have won is in 2020 is COVID-19 rapid response, and it's really affecting all businesses in different part of the society, solving different kind of problems, but all kind of challenged by COVID and pandemic. And generally, the sector I am in, supporting parents, supporting breastfeeding, and it is an area actually is very underfunded, and venture capitalist investors or angel investors, they don't really see big money over here. But Innovate UK help us to actually rocket fuel our innovation from the beginning, so we can build something, put it in the market, and then use that to attract investment and kind of further funding. And I would like to say that this is such an important social problem we need to solve, because lack of breastfeeding is a cause and a consequence of health inequality, and underserved ethnic and socio-economic groups suffer poor breastfeeding outcomes. So I think if we don't have Innovate UK's support and KTN support and Women Innovation Award to help us at the beginning of this journey, we will not achieve what we can achieve now and in the future.
Yeah, I'd in large part agree with that. I think before I even speak, I've got a caveat with I'm young. So I have limited understanding of how things were before I started in the world of business, and also I'm not a woman, so there's only so much that I can speak on that bit in particular. But what I would say is that it does seem like things are improving from both in terms of like diversity from women, and then also if you come from an ethnic minority as well. I would say that things are starting to go in the right direction. I'm starting to see, at least in my cohort / generation, more women in VC, more ethnic minorities as well, and even some funds that are specifically targeted at women and people of color as well, of which this program is one of them, and which makes it a very good thing. I would probably say as well that in a strange way, I've started to see that protest in some regard it is positive. A lot of things, so off the back of the tragedy of what happened with George Floyd and the BLM movement, off the back of that, I've started to see loads of organizations actually actively look into how they can improve diversity, both from women and socioeconomic backgrounds. So not just, obviously we've got KTN and Innovate UK doing a really good job, but there's other organizations as well that I've been in touch with, not least Barclays, Foundervine, Color in Tech, etc., etc. So that there are some really good organizations doing some things. And yeah, I feel that we're moving in the right direction, but just because we're moving in the right direction doesn't mean the job is done. I think that there's still a lot to do, especially as we start to see new technologies pop up. Just that unconscious bias can start to creep into different sectors in different places, even with just, if you're creating a machine learning model, you can accidentally teach it to be sexist or racist. So yeah, stuff has been done. We've got a long way to go. But I guess I'm smiling because we're on the web. So.
Very good. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Rose Review was mentioned. That's had such a significant impact. I think there's been a lot more work as well in terms of understanding data and trying to gather evidence about what the current picture is in terms of who's engaging with the innovation landscape, who's benefiting from that. So all of that transparency of the data is helping us to understand what the challenges are better, and therefore what actions need to be taken by different organisations to address that. And I think, Piers, what you were saying about it isn't just Innovate UK and Innovate UK KTN, and there's so many organisations now out there that are trying to kind of work on similar challenges to us. And I think one of our real goals going forward is to work in partnership much better and actually convene partners across the innovation system so that collectively we can have much more impact with the work that we're doing. And I think that's got to be the way forward. There's too much of stuff happening in silos, in small itty bitty places, ad hoc activity. So how can we kind of unite all of that together better, more? Brilliant. Okay, so moving on then. How do you think, so I talked a bit when I did the welcome about really what we're trying to do is realise the untapped potential of diverse talent for innovation in the UK. So how do you think we can do that? What are the best ways of doing that? What interventions have you seen that you think are helping to enable us to do that? Obviously, we've got women in innovation, we've got young innovators. Are there other interventions you think that are working or are necessary for the future, I guess, to realise that untapped potential? What are your thoughts on that?
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say that I didn't grow up in this country, but I think my experience might be similar. I think for me, working in Hollywood movies, working on visual effects, it's because of the inspiration from the very young age. I watched Lion King, I watched Toy Stories, and all those things just inspire me to work on visual effects and big screen and entertainment. So I think what we can do is to inspire children from very young age, inspire them to have that fire in their belly and to dream big. And you can do anything and achieve any dreams if you work for it, from day one. And so this is one thing. Another thing I think very important is to have role models, because we can't become someone if we can't see, and we can become someone that will inspire other people. And another thing I want to say is that, entrepreneurship and innovation is something that I think the schools, the universities, the societies should teach and celebrate. And it comes in different shapes and forms. It doesn't mean you need to give up your day job and have a leap of faith and do something completely dramatic. You can be entrepreneurial and innovative in school, in your day job, in your communities. You can be a change maker whenever and wherever you are in your life.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone can innovate. Anyone can be an innovator, and yeah, I think that's really powerful. And the fire in the belly bit as well. Definitely, that's what we need to do more of that. Becky, Pierce, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely. Chen, I'm just blown away by. She's just like a brain the size of the sun, quite frankly. And I need to immediately have her in my circle now, because she's just so super inspiring. But what I would say is I absolutely agree. I think we have an embedded cultural imperative, which is a posh way of saying a problem in Britain, that we don't encourage people to actually aspire. And the issue that we have in the regions is often low social and educational aspiration is linked to low entrepreneurial aspiration. And when we actually looked at Portsmouth as an ecosystem, one of the things that we noticed was there was low social and educational aspiration, which is the thing that we had to fix. So what we actually had to do for a lot of people was present our offering in a different way to encourage people that were neurodiverse, who had often had bad educational experiences at school, to engage with our community in a totally different way. So what I would say is the systems aren't designed for the entrepreneurs that we're looking to engage with. And the critical part of what we're doing with our incubator is designing a bespoke system for each individual entrepreneur based on their brain wiring. And we want then to put that into educational establishments at the university level and then into the education system. The entrepreneurship has just been embedded as part of the curriculum, I believe, through legislation in the UK. And what I think we need to do is actually then look at linking our technological change with all the stuff that Founders for Schools are doing on a much, this is the big picture stuff, around implementing stuff that's actually worthwhile for people when they're at school, because it goes back to what Chen was saying earlier. And I think also Pierce is, I love Pierce, that next generation is different. And that's why I love hanging around with you guys. Because really you are the generation that will achieve everything that for 30 years I've had to stand by and think this would be really cool, but there's been this barrier. So it's good that we're moving that needle towards it. But I do genuinely think there is so much more to be done, and funding is critical. I mean, I think there's a menopausal rage and a female rage in Britain. We make up 51% of the population. Where's our representation? It's zero. I'm sorry, in politics and everything. So we need to actually be more vocal about that, and we need to stop being afraid of actually supporting each other, because it's in the interest of change that we support each other. And you should never see anybody else as competition. They're not. Each of us is unique, like flowers and plants are unique, and we shine in our different ways. So I think we've critically got to start supporting one another, opening up our networks. And this is what, I've tried to do on the South Coast, is I had this network that I'd built for 30 years and I've given it away. And the boys are fuming. They're like, well, why would you do it? How are you making money out of it? And I said, well, we're not. It's just the right thing to do. And I think that when you act with altruism, that's when change happens. And women are very, very good at that. But hopefully that echoes what Chen has said. And Chen, as a parent especially, and many women and people on this call will also be parents. I take my hat off to you, because I don't know how you do it, because it's like having another child, having your own business. So it needs that level of investment, that nurture. So you're doing phenomenal things. Just be aware of that, and not everybody will like it. And that's when neurodiverse resilience can be really helpful, because you just not got to care what other people think.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'd largely agree with that. One thing I would probably add to it is that it does seem hard. It's like crashing through barriers and feeling that maybe the world isn't built for you in the world that you want to see it. But one thing I would say as an encouragement from someone who's a bit younger is that you're actively making it easier for people that come after you. So definitely do see that as a medal that you can wear. One thing I would also say as well is that, kind of backing up what both of you have said, is that it's very difficult to be what you can't see. So role models are very, very, very important for young people. And if they're given the wrong role models, or a biased subset of role models, then that's what they're going to go into. So you'll probably be able to see, so almost put in a positive light, us winning the Euros, like the women football team winning the Euros, is going to then create loads of young women that are going to come and do great things in the next generation. So I would say that we should, if we want to see more women in innovation, if we want to see more ethnic minorities in innovation, then we should try our very best to show them from a young age what it looks like. And if we do that, then naturally they'll start to get an inclination for it and they'll go into it. For example, for myself, when I was younger, I always wanted to be a surgeon. But then looking back onto it, I was like, that's because you've got all these TV programs on like where casualty, Holby City, you know what I mean? Like it's always related to the NHS. So I thought, okay, cool, that's how you be successful. But in no way did anyone show me you could be a data scientist. Like that boggled my brain. It's just not something that I was given access to. So I think if we are going to change the next generation, then we need to do it through education. So we should focus on that. And if we do, then the rest of the job will be done.
Very similar kind of messages there, I think, in terms of engaging early with children starting out on their kind of education journeys. I think definitely that's an area where we think there's a huge potential for us to do more. Obviously not just Innovate UK, this point about working in partner with others, but we've got access to all of you and you're the role models, you're the ones with the stories. So if we've got access to you, it's our responsibility really to make sure that we're doing all we can to showcase that and get you involved in interactions that will help to kind of inspire that future generation. So really, really fantastic. Okay, so moving on, what I'd like to think about now is really a bit about your journey. I think it might be helpful for others here today to hear about the journey that you've been on with your businesses and maybe some of the barriers that you've had to overcome. So it'd be lovely if you could, share some of that thinking, some of that journey you've been on, and maybe we can talk about those barriers and think what it might be like for others in a similar position.
Piers should go first on this one.
Yeah.
In the interest of fair rotation and fairness. Go on, Piers.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd say, okay, my journey. Textured. I would say because of the time that I started, it was in COVID. So there was all manner of different things that were going on at the time. First time working at home for extended periods of time. First time not really having a team with me, and then won the Young Innovators Award, and then progressed from there. I would say since starting, I would say getting one of the hardest things for me was usually when you start a business, you have an area of expertise that you're good at, and you're like, okay, maybe I can make socks, and then that's your thing. But that inherently means because you're an expert there that you probably don't know about accounting, you don't know about marketing, and then everything else that then goes along with it. So all of those skills have to be built. So that was something that was a bit of a struggle for myself, and my innovation champion definitely did help me in building those skills. The second thing would be just getting visibility first, and then after that, an understanding of the investment landscape and what it's like to be on the other side of the table. That was, if you've never been around people who have been through that, it's very difficult to understand because you just have no visibility at all. But that was definitely helped by me by becoming part of the Young Innovations program and then the follow-on fund. I was able to then meet people who were in similar positions, and then we can share notes and then we can learn collectively. So I'd say those were probably the biggest challenges. And then there's the third, which is always funding. The more funding you have, it's like pixie dust. You can just throw at stuff and things work. I mean, if you do it in the right way, you can't throw money at every problem and expect it to work. But I guess with wisdom and with wise counsel, money does go a long way. So yeah, those have been, in summary, I would say without much detail, my biggest challenges. But I guess by surrounding myself with the right people, I'm starting to deal with some of them. So,
yeah, it's interesting because Becky, I think you said, people don't want more mentoring. What we need is funding, and I do hear that quite a lot. But I think what we see, and like you've just heard from Piers talking about the Innovation Champion, which is kind of part of the non-financial package of support that we provide with our awards, where it works best is where you've got the combination of the funding with the mentoring and the expert advice that is, tailored to the needs of kind of like the individual. And I think if you can bring all of that together, then that's where the magic happens, and that's where it can really add value. So
I think that's what we've done with Startup Disruptors, is I could see that was where the gapping was. In my neurodiverse brain, the gapping was very much around that, which was there seemed to be a lot of these silos, a lot of these public sector bodies, and no disrespect to public sector bodies, if you haven't started a business, you don't know how to run one. So we created a community of entrepreneurs who were early stage, idea stage, 1 to 18 months, and then link them with localized mentors. And we're doing that all around the country now.
Yes.
And what I'd say to anybody looking for money, and anybody, and I believe me, having to remortgage my own home and put in the 80k that I needed to get started, nobody does that lightly, and everybody thought I was nuts, still does. But the fact of the matter is if you're an innovator, you're going to have to make tough decisions that aren't the same as everybody else's, and they're not going to understand them. So I would say you have to have confidence in your own ability. And in order for that to happen, as Piers quite rightly said, and as Chen said earlier, you have to have a community around you that supports you in the craziness that you're actually living, because it's the mental and psychological toll that it takes on you can be very, very destructive. And I think it's the mental resilience part that people underestimate. So what I would say is that the sooner you can find both a localized community, or, our community is free on Facebook. We have a free Facebook group, because reaching out to people and understanding that mental health, piece is critical for all ages. It doesn't matter who you are. The younger age groups we know are suffering more from social anxiety. We partnered with Mind, the mental health charity in the Solent region, because we deal with neurodiverse people who have mental health challenges, and entrepreneurs have mental health challenges. So that needs to be magnified much more. And you're right, Emily, we have to link people as quickly as we can to funding, because what happens is those really great ideas come to market really quickly, and then they disappear as fast because they're not funded correctly. But what I would say to anybody on this funding is generate your own cash. Once you become cash rich, you're going to be more attractive to people. I'm not saying don't apply for this fund, because I think you absolutely should. Everybody should. But what I would say is if you can monetize your offering in some way, no matter how small, very early on, that makes you more attractive for investment anyway. I invest through crowdfunding platforms. I invest directly in other companies. And what I look for is the fact, are they making money in any way, shape or form? And that's what an investor actually wants to see as well, because you're de-risking yourself, because investors don't actually want risk. Even venture capital investors don't want risk, not really. They want you to be de-risked. So what I would actually say to people is don't get bogged down too early on, especially if you're bootstrapping, in going for angel investment if it's not for you. And one of the critical things that we do very well, and I think that we need to do better, is actually being realistic with people early on and saying, this is not for you. This is not your path. You're going to get a great lifestyle business, but it's only going to ever be up to 85 to 150k per annum. You're not a million, you're not less than 0.01% of companies ever get VC funding. So being realistic about your offering, if you're neurodiverse, can be very difficult. So again, go and ask the people the hard questions. So UK Business Angels Association are very good. Angels Den. Reach out to Innovate UK, to Emily, to the team, and just say, realistically, do you think this has got legs? Because you don't want to waste your life and your own time if it hasn't. And you need that honest feedback from somebody critical. And that's why mentoring does come into play very early on. So hopefully that's useful and has given Chen enough time to say something.
Yeah, we're running out of time rapidly, but Chen, I want to give you an opportunity to come in on this one. I think it's important.
Thank you. I'm just going to add just some small points. So firstly, women in tech could be a barrier. In 2011, when I joined visual effects industry, there were only 50 people in the whole Europe doing my job, and there were probably under 5 women doing my job. So that underrepresentation in the industry could be a challenge, because you have to work probably harder to prove yourself. And as a woman, people somehow think you are not as good as men when you do technology jobs. So another thing I learned, and this I really want to share with everyone, is my journey of setting up a business as a working mom and juggling everything. So I have been running Largely has been founded in 2018, but I gave up my day job in December 2020. So for 2 years of the time, 1 year I was on maternity leave, and another year and a bit I was basically doing a day job and juggling a startup and 2 children at the same time. At some weeks I worked 100 hours per week, and that was horrendous and that was hard. So I'm not saying everybody should do this, but what I'm saying is that running a startup is almost like a marathon. You really have to pace yourself, but it's a conviction because you know something you are working on has so much meaning and so much impact on other people, and that just keep you going. And I also want to say that really make sure you put your family and put the most important things first, because at the end of the day, you know, they are the people who will support you when you are struggling, when you are vulnerable, when you feel like you are in a very lonely place. One last thing I want to just quickly say is about raising investment, because I had such a hard time last year to start with. You know, someone who doesn't really have any good benefit, you know, as a solo entrepreneur, like solo founder, a female founder, and an ethnic minority founder. And also the business I'm running is for kind of breastfeeding and for the, you know, it's like a fintech business. So everything is not playing in my favor. So it's hard going out to pitch to investors, get so many no's. And, you know, and what I learned is that you really have to understand the stage of your business. For Latchate, last year, the best strategy for us is to get angel investment and then leveraging the grant funding and Innovate UK loan to finish that round. And that will save me a lot of time. So I don't really have to go out to pitch to VC investors, because sometimes pitching to angel investors, you will get some people who are self-selected, they're really behind your idea. They have that personal attachment to support you. And eventually you actually get all the support you can get from different angels with different background and different network. And that's actually really inspiring for a startup founder, and they will mentor you, they will coach you. So when you think about the funding strategies, think a diverse funding strategies. Not every company will follow the same path. You can choose your own path.
Thank you. We're going to have to finish there, but I mean, we could keep talking about this. And thank you so much for taking part of this, giving your incredibly valuable time to this, your energy, being so honest with your answers and sharing so freely with this audience. I'm looking at kind of the chat and it's really positive. Everybody's saying thank you so much. It's really helpful. I was going to allow some time for some closing comments from you, but we haven't got time. So I think you've done a great job and you've shared loads and it's been really powerful. Thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time, all of you. Thank you.
Emily, have we got any time for questions for the audience, or we over talked?
No, we are. No, Veronica's
really?
gonna,
Okay.
Yeah. So, but if people want to put things in the chat, and if you're around, then we can, you know, handle it that way. But yeah, we're out, aren't we, Veronica? We need to move on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much, everyone. A quick note that we are taking, let's say, 3 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We will now hear from past and current Women in Innovation award holders on how the award helped them taking their business to the next level, their journey so far, and shared advice for all the women innovators out there. So we have here today Jane, Sonu, and Fanzi. They represent cohort 4, cohort 3, and cohort 1, with the note that unfortunately Daniela is not able to join us today due to some health challenges. So yeah, we hope she's fine. So yeah, I would like to firstly, would you like Jane, Sonu, and Fanzi to introduce yourselves, and then we can start the discussion. Jane, would you like to go first?
Sure, thanks, Veronica. Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Stewart from Top Analytics. We're a waste data analytics company that seeks to make the world's waste more visible, verifiable, and valuable. I'm delighted to join you today.
Thank you very much. Fanzi, would you like to go next?
I'm Fanzi. I'm from DPS Designs. We design chocolates and make chocolate molds. So great to be here today.
Thank you so much. I'm a huge lover of chocolate, so thank you. And Sonu?
Hey everyone, I'm Sonu from shopper.com, and we provide online stores to creators, affiliate marketers, podcasters, and YouTubers. So excited to be here.
Thank you very much, and we're very excited to have you all here today as well. I would like to start with the first question. So we are curious to know what made you decide to follow the business innovation journey, and also when and why the idea of applying to the Women in Innovation Award entered the picture in your journey. Can I have Jane going first?
Sure, thanks, Veronica. I think part of our journey came around understanding what the problem was that we were seeking to solve. And more than 60% of the world's waste currently ends its life in landfill, waste dump, or leaks into the environment. At Topolytics, we're seeking to enable that materials revolution where the efficiency and life of our resources is maximised and the negative impacts of waste on our environment and communities are eliminated. Having worked in the waste industry personally for over 20 years, I recognise the challenges firsthand. The waste system itself is complex and opaque globally, and we viewed the systemic waste issue as a data challenge first, and hence sought to address that challenge. As a result, we're a waste data analytics company, and as I mentioned, we're seeking to make the world's waste more visible, verifiable, and valuable. And we've developed our waste map platform to deliver actionable insights for waste producers, for the resource recovery sector, and governments to maximise resource efficiency and eliminate the negative impacts of waste. On that innovation journey, we've been recognised by Google Cloud, SAP, IDC, Frost & Sullivan, and others as a leading innovator in the growing global waste tech sector. We were successful in another Innovate UK competition, and we're in the final stages of project delivery when I was signposted to the Women in Innovation Awards. I attended a similar event to this last year, which sparked my interest. I'd been made aware of it by Innovate KTN, as well as individuals in my network, including the awesome funding and innovation team at Scottish Enterprise. I think from that point, at a personal level, I decided to enter because it would enable Topolytics to showcase and extend our waste map platform with £50,000 of funding, and to actively encourage more women to lead, to found, and to be the change they wish to see.
Thank you so much, Jane. And really lovely to hear that last year's brief event basically sparked your motivation to apply, and hopefully it will be the case for many other women that are watching today. Who would like to go next?
So my journey is slightly different. So DPS Design is a family business. It started about 27 years ago. When I joined as a second generation, I guess some people probably think, oh, you're gifted a mature business. But my challenge was at the time is actually taking the business to a different level. So for the 23 years the business had been going on, we only employed up to about 18 people when I first joined, and we didn't have a website, for example. We had the main competitor in Europe who's been in the industry for over 100 years. So the family model, the business model is more like a family business, lifestyle business, and it wasn't, was ticking along, although a great achievement already at that stage. So, and for me, the challenge was to change the business model, change the way how we do things, and really step up and put us on the world stage, which we managed to do after 7 years with the help of obviously this award at the time. So when my background is actually in retail and technical risk assessment. So when I first joined, obviously not in manufacturing, not have a technical background, not managed 20 people before, and not in chocolate industry at all. So a huge amount to learn. And really, I think the reason why I applied was actually a friend of mine was applying for under a different category for the same award. And she asked me to write her a reference. And I thought, actually, this probably is the kick in the backside I needed to really get my confidence up to see if I can do it, if I'm good enough. And I remember very clearly for the briefing events, a lot of scientists was there, people were curing cancer or develop batteries for, satellite dishes. And I really felt I was under spotlight and really not in the right place. It didn't belong to me. But I was one of the winners. So I think through that experience really made me believe in myself, what I'm trying to do, and what with a support network as well has really made a huge difference to me personally as well as a business.
Thank you so much, Fancy. And going back to what Becky said on the previous session, it's so important to believe in yourself, right? And of course, it's important to have the networks and the people around you to support you and to inspire you. So important. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Sonu?
Yeah, I think my story is also quite different because it's not like Jane or Franzi. So I'm a qualified accountant turned tech entrepreneur. So when I was working in corporates, I was making some difference, but I was thinking that if I want to make a difference at scale, I need to use technology somehow. And not being from the technical background was really challenging initially because you don't understand any bit of it, like, you are totally lost. But I was very fortunate to have the co-founders who really handhold me at that time. And then we were able to launch our first business in e-commerce marketing. So our innovation journey really started almost like 12, 13 years back when I started as an entrepreneur, because innovation is the key to taking you to the next stage. We are living in this fast-paced world where you cannot really have one technology serving the clients for next 12 months. You need to really innovate and innovate at a real fast pace. Then only we'll be able to be ahead in the game and actually give some value to our users, to the community, to the wider stakeholders. And that is what I was more passionate about. And applying for the award was honestly more for me as person, because in the past 12, 13 years, I was so focused on the business. I was so focused on my team, on the customers, raising investments, that I didn't really ever think back or take a step back and think what I have achieved as a person. It was everything what company achieved is what I have achieved, but there was no feather in my cap, I would say. So this was for me personally to prove that, yes, I am somebody different and I have also achieved something. And that is why I applied for Women in Innovation.
Thank you so much. That's very, very inspiring. And it's so true, right? If businesses don't innovate on a continuous basis, they can't really survive. And I like to think about, that is the same with people. We need to reinvent ourselves, to, innovate ourselves, because, life throws at you so many challenges and so many, messy situations. So it's so important to keep.
I think everyone's story, as we heard so far already, everyone's story is different. So I really don't want to, apparently we got over 1,000 people signed up today. I really want people to really think that you can do it. Have a go, because you don't know, you might not, you might be the winner. There isn't a typical winner, what it looks like. You don't have to be a tech start. You don't have to be fintech. You don't have to be engineer. You don't have to be a qualified accountant. And, I think it's so true. When I go to school and talk to the kids, innovation is really broad definition. You can innovate everything, anything. Even if, I tell to the cleaners in our factory, they can innovate in their job. They don't have to, imagine up this new technology that saved the whole world and resolve, the climate change issue. They just need to be better at what they're doing and find a clever way or quicker way or somehow improve the process is an innovation. So, we reinvented ourselves, for the past 6 years. I can see now looking back how I reinvented myself in my own mental space as well. Like people still think that I'm still probably the same me, but I know I can deal with pressure. I know that I could deal with presentation, interview, all of those things so much better than I was able to do 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Fancy, because if you think about it, the pandemic really threw us out in open, and then every single person had to reinvent themselves because there were so many challenges we all as a world faced. But I think a lot of us have actually come out as winner because we are here in this particular program. So that means somehow we all have survived. We have actually reinvented ourselves. We have innovated ourselves to manage the unseen or the uncertain times. And that's really important, I guess, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. I think women's actually the better sex to innovate ourselves and our surroundings, from, dating, having kids, and have to take care of a household and work. Dr. Chen was saying that she was doing effectively 3 roles when she was starting up. That's amazing. We constantly evolve and innovate just through being alive.
So true. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now moving on more specifically about the application experience. I mean, I know that you, Fancy, you've applied back in 2016, which for me sounds definitely a while ago. But if any of you has any, top tips you might have for the potential women, for the women that would potentially apply this year, and those who are watching us today, any top tips from your side, from your experience in applying?
I guess one thing I would say, Veronica, is that not to forget this application, as Fancy and Sonia have said, is about you. It's about your story, your why, your vision, as much as it is about your business innovation and value proposition. Personally, I sought counsel wherever I could, from colleagues, former applicants. My husband and 10-year-old daughter even got involved helping me with my video submission whilst we were on holiday. And I guess one of the things for me at the outset was, as a team player, it felt slightly daunting talking about myself rather than the business in this application. But this board is as much for you as it is for your business. And once I got over that, the application process was relatively straightforward. I would say it's significantly easier than most grant applications in my experience. I found considering the specific project I would seek funding for was the bit I grappled the most with in the context of what the award is truly about. But my advice would be keep it simple. Clearly explain the problem that you're solving, why and for whom, how you'll commercialise it, and think simply about your forward plans and how this grant might help you accelerate and extend your innovation from here. But the other point not to forget, and it's equally as important, is to think about how that broader package of support can help you personally and be useful to you and the business in the next stage of your journey.
Thank you so
I'd
much.
say-
Very useful. Sure. Sanu?
Right. I was just saying that, for me, the toughest part of writing the application was talking about myself. So generally, maybe it's my background or it's my gender, I don't know. We don't really talk enough about us. We always try to mellow down ourselves, or we always underestimate our own achievements. We don't really talk about them the way a lot of other people do. And that was one of the biggest challenges for me. How do I actually put a spotlight on my own self and my work that I've done? So that was very important. But while I was writing the application, I did realize, however small or big, the number of people I've actually touched in my life through my entrepreneurial journey, the number of schools I've visited and encouraged the children to, or girls specifically, to take up entrepreneurship or to be women in innovation or women in tech, or the number of universities I've visited to. So it was more like a reflection journey for me, where I was actually reflecting on my 12 or 13 years of achievement, and I was just projecting it there. And at the same time, it was showcasing my ambition for the future, that I have achieved something, but what next? What is that I really want to achieve in life? What I really want to, how I want to change the world? What is that really motivates me? Why I want to get this award? And one of the finer details I think everybody will know here is that please go through questions very carefully. If there are any guidance notes which says that, okay, you should cover 1, 2, 3 points, please cover all those 3 points, because many a times we only cover point 1 or 2 and we just leave point 3 because there is not enough space or we ran out of the word count. So I know it's finer details and more technical, but please pay attention to that.
Thank you so much, Sonu. It's very, very helpful. And I love that this type of, when you apply for an award, or the same, I guess, when you start a business, it really forces you, right, to reflect on, on your values, on what you want to achieve, your strengths, your weaknesses, if you see yourself as a role model and so on, which is not necessarily easy to pitch yourself and to see yourself as a role model as well, especially if you're, from an underrepresented group. So I love that this type of awards, allow you to, gives you the space to reflect on that, which is great. Fancy, would you like to add?
Can I just add a practical tip? So on the, obviously there are loads of questions and the notes, absolutely, Sonia was right. Please pay attention to read them properly. I would say when you write the answers, do let your personality really show through, and the reader, the assessor, would want to know who you are as a person, because this award is very, very different to other grants that you're applying. The other thing I found is really easy, making things a bit easier, because there's so many questions, and I know you guys are all really, really busy. You probably have to dip in and out your application. I tend to copy and paste the questions, and I do everything in Word document, and then I can read it easily, I can edit easily, and then copy and paste it onto the website afterwards as a final last thing. And do take time and start early. Don't leave it to the last 2 days or something, because there are always surprises, things that will take a lot longer, and you'll be very super stressed about it.
that's really strong practical advice, Fancy. I do exactly the same thing, and it helps then to track the word count, and then to look back and say, have I answered all the questions that were in here, and where can I compromise on words in order to ensure that all the points are answered? Because it's a bit like an exam question. You leave points on the table if you don't address each of the questions that specifically asked, the sub questions within the question effectively. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's really great advice. I do the same thing. Take it into words, make sure you've got it right. And the other thing is that the Innovate site times out. So if you're in the middle of writing a section and you're going in and out of the document, you can lose everything that's in the document because you've timed out in your sign in. So I think that's really practical advice.
Thank you very much. I can see the chat comments, you even make the women watching today more excited to apply for this year. So that's great to hear. Thank you all for your lovely feedback and comments. Moving on to the next question, specifically more about the package of support offered to the award. What was the most valuable part of that from your experience, and how did you utilize that support to the fullest?
So I think the support probably changed a little bit, obviously, over the 6 years, but I think what hasn't changed from what I heard Emily mentioning earlier is still the support package, the mentor, the network. I think there's boot camp that loads of experts will come and talk to you about all these things that, you didn't really think about even start a business, like accountants and HR people. How do you hire people? If they're not performing, can you actually fire them? How, what's the way to do it? All these really practical advice and tailor-made for different people, different stage of the business life. And what I would say is really utilize that. And for me, the money is great. Don't get me wrong, like Piers was saying, it's like a fairy dust that you put somewhere and it makes it or fix the problem. But for me, it's really a network. The award itself is really door opening for us. For example, before we won the award, we never really had any market share in European markets. And that really helped us to have those conversations, because that's instant recognition, is government body, and it's a vouch for your own as a person as well as for your business. I think that is really, really helpful. And just, the PR, you'll get exposure to work with PR agencies. Really put yourself out there, really practice in all these occasions. Go and volunteer to be a panelist, volunteer to go to talk to school children, because every of these opportunities really to practice your elevator's pitch. Basically, it'll be like one-liners of who you are, and the more you talk about it, your own yourself as well as the business, the more practiced you are and the more confident you'll be, and you'll take it as ducked water.
Thank you so much. Yes, Sana?
Right. Yeah, so I was saying, like, for me, the more important thing was the peer network, because like the life as in women in tech could be quite lonely. So knowing that there are so many other women innovators out there was very comforting, because you are suddenly not in an isolated land. You've got a lot of other people around you. And most of the women innovators were also going through the kind of journey that I was going through as well, like with 2 young kids and the startup business and the demanding work-life balance. It's not always very simple to stay motivated, stay focused, and always be like, yeah, everything is going fine. There are days when you are low and you really need somebody to give you that pep talk and just like make you feel like how far you have come. So that was very important for me, like the peer network particularly. And of course, like being a role model, having this purple plaques installed in the schools was a very exciting thing, because now you know that the next generation is going to know about the women innovators. It's not going to be skewed towards just men innovators, but there are going to be people who will know about us as well. And that was really the thing that I feel have been very important. And the last thing is the support from my innovation advisor, because we became such good friends that now we even just catch up for coffee, although the program is over. And technically, our quarterly meetings are also done, but we still catch up for our coffees and sometimes lunch, and it's really amazing.
Thank you so much, Sona. And note that, yes, the innovation advisors are part of Innovate UK Edge, and they basically offer business support, coaching support, and yes, they do a great job. Thank you so much. Jane, would you like to add any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think much the same as Pansy and Sonia. I think that peer network's really, really important, as well as the financial resources, obviously through the grant, which we're extremely grateful for, and it's allowed us particularly to extend the capabilities of our core product. I've loved being inspired by others on the programme and learning more than I expected from the workshops. In particular, the storytelling and personal brand I took a lot from. We've had lots of virtual events since I joined the programme. Literally, I'm partway through it, so 5 months into this year's cohort, and I'm really looking forward to our first in-person event in September, and to sharing and learning from each other's experiences and opportunities across sectors, given that on this particular cohort so many of us are solving such critical challenges environmentally and socially, so who knows what unforeseen collaborative ideas may flourish from those face-to-face sessions.
Thank you so much. And it's so important, right, when we have that togetherness. I do believe that is so much strength and power in coming together and in sharing, challenges, sharing our successes, journeys. And it's one thing that really inspires me today in my role, to see all of you, the fact that you're so, supportive to one another and so eager to learn from one another. And talking to many women that, hold the award, this is one of the important, for sure, perks of being part of this Women Innovation, Community Award holders. So thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on to the next question. I know you've touched roughly all of you on this, but if you can, expand a bit more on how has your business grown since the Women Innovation Program journey?
So for us, I guess we've been developing a bit longer. So we, like I mentioned, when I joined the company, we had, I think, about 18 people. And now we just offered 4 extra jobs to 4 people in the past 2 weeks. So we're growing to 45. The target was to double the business in 5 years. So we basically ticked all the boxes and beyond. We now trade globally. We won the Queen's Award for Enterprise as well a couple of years ago in lockdown. So all these achievements are all through, I would say, the network, the mentor, the support, the confidence boost. Yeah, so we're shouting us, we were the best kept secret in the industry for 23 years. And now we're shouting about our achievements through the rooftop at the global stage.
That's great. Thank you so much. And keep shouting about it. It's so important for other people out there to, to hear about your successes and to be inspired. Thank you, Pansy.
So for us, it has been quite instrumental in the sense that we are a startup and we were equity-backed business. So our existing investors were super excited when we won the Women Innovation Award, and they really wanted to follow on. We've been approached by quite a lot of investors because they saw the news out there, and that was a good credibility and a boost in our funding campaign. So that was all really very good. But then we managed to stay afloat with our own revenues. So that was another good thing that came out of the award, because we were able to self-sustain ourselves. And that's something like, I guess every business is looking forward to, becoming self-sustainable. And for us, it was more about how our team actually took it, because for team it was a very good morale booster, that if there is something that if you're doing something innovative, there are people in this world who want to acknowledge it, who want to really see it, and who want to really reward you for that. So that boost was very important to me as a founder and as the entrepreneur, to keep everybody in the business happy. Because if investors are happy, your staff is happy, your customers are happy, your stakeholders are happy, then essentially you are happy as an entrepreneur, because you think you are doing something right. And that's what is like, you're balancing all the elements.
Thank you so much, Sonia. That's so true. I resonate with that. Jane, would you like to add anything as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of the comments before, and I think that that boost is really important. It certainly helped me personally over the last 12 months. And I think our journey on the application process is about 12 months ago from now, almost exactly. Since applying to the programme, we've been able to progress and accelerate our product development. We've launched our core platform, we've enhanced our value proposition, we've secured new customers, not just in the UK, but also internationally. And we've also secured, I'm delighted to say, significant 7-figure investment from UK and overseas high net worth investors. So So from that perspective, it's been a quiet 12 months really, or at least so far so good. And I think the continued profile raising always helps. It's helped me extend my personal brand and network, whilst also increasing the profile and reach of Topolytics as we extend the business commercially. So it's been really positive.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jen. And I can't wait to follow your journey, with the Women Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we kind of ran out of time, but we started a bit late than planned. So let's have 2 more minutes. I would like to basically close this session to hear from all of you. If you were to offer one piece of advice for all the women watching this, who are not sure if they should apply to this year's award, or who are not sure they should embark on a business innovation journey, what would that advice be? One main piece of advice, please.
Well, I start by saying you've got this. Starting is the hardest part, and I think most importantly, if it feels daunting, reach out to your network, to family, to previous winners. I'm sure we'd all be delighted to have a chat with you, and we're here to support you. So get started and go for it.
Thank you, Jane.
I'd say that you should do it for yourself. So even if you're not sure, just do it, because the experience is going to be really fun. And if you get selected, then it's even more fun, because then you'll be in the company of like-minded people. So don't self-doubt. Don't be in doubts like whether you will get it or you won't get it. Just go for the experience. That's going to be worth it.
I love that. Go for it.
I would agree. What's there to lose is my advice. I also know a couple of people, winners even, applied a couple of times, couple of years, and they got there. And I think one of the questions in the chat said is, do you get feedback? And I hope you still get feedback from, even if you don't get selected. And I also hope that's still the case, even if you're not the winners, that you still have the network and you still get some support. So, following on from what Sonu was saying, is I really believe showing your vulnerabilities when you're networking is really, really important as a leader, as a person, because when you do share what your worries are, what you're struggling with, you'll find you're not the only person who has that problem, and all of a sudden the weight is halved, and then you all come together and maybe someone actually come the other side, and then you get some advice. So absolutely do have a go, you'll be great.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been such a great session. And again, I can see from the chat that everyone has been, inspired and motivated even to apply, which is amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. I really enjoyed the discussion. Next, our colleague Don from Innovate UK will walk you through the application process in the next 30 minutes or so, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. But first, Hasna will quickly mention again the scope of the program for those of you who missed her session earlier, and as a refresher. Hasna, over to you.
Thank you, Veronica. Thank you. I've got the slides. Can I have the next slide, please, Chloe? Okay, so I briefly went over this at the beginning of the webinar, of the briefing event, but I have had many questions coming through the Q&A chat regarding the scope, so I'm going to go through it in a bit more detail now. And please feel free at the end, if you do have any questions regarding this and we haven't been clear about it, just to ask us any questions, and we'll try and answer them during the webinar, and if not, afterwards. So the aim of this conversation is to find and support a diverse portfolio of up to 15 women in innovation award winners. The aim of this is to find relatable role models for women from all backgrounds, from regions across the UK. So we definitely want that diversity of regions, and who are looking to solve a range of pressing societal, environmental, and economic challenges. And this can be in a variety of innovation. And as you heard from our previous award holders and their different projects and their amazing businesses, and how we have funded a variety of different innovation areas. Your proposal must identify clearly evidence pressing what must have evidence clearly press. Let me just start that again. Your proposal must identify clearly evidence pressing societal, environmental, or economic challenges, and how your project and your innovation can help solve them. Applications can come from anywhere in innovation, I've said this before, and where our official definition of innovation is where is defined as the commercially successful exploitation of ideas. And this basically means innovation is an introduction of something new that addresses a challenge or market need, just to break it down. Can I have the next slide, please? So we are particularly encouraging applications from women who have the potential, capability, experience, and personal drive to become leaders in business innovation. As I said, we're looking for the role models across regions, across ethnicity, across we're just looking for diversity across the board, age groups. I've had a question as well in the Q&A about older applications across the age groups as well. We are looking for diversity across the board, and we have up to 50 awards this year. So it's the biggest competition we've held. And we need someone who has a clear vision for their business as well, and looking for something that's game changing, something that's new, innovative, and that has an impact. I know what they are hoping to achieve from the award as well, and not just from the £50,000 grant, but also from the personal business support and coaching and mentoring that we provide. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned this before. So the examples of support we offer include personal branding and self-care, pitch readiness, so you're ready to go in and pitch to other investors. We've had many women who have gone on to grow their businesses even more. You know, we've heard from award holders today. Chen more recently with Latchade, her business has exploded over the last year. We've seen so much progress from our award holders, and of course we need to make sure you're prepared and you have the skills and you have the confidence to go out there and get more money and grow your business even more. Additional support includes senior business mentors, and they can help connect you to people within your innovation sector. So we try and match you up with those who are within your sector, and build that network and build that and put yourself out there and build your brand. We also provide workshops and webinars and community support. As mentioned, I think in the last panel multiple times, that support that you have between yourselves, that network, that peer network, and that relationship you build amongst your peers, it's one of the best things out of the program as well, being able to speak candidly with other women who are going through the same thing as you. So next slide, please. And as part of this purple plaque campaign, I did want to have an image. I do have one later. I knew there'll be one coming up later, and I wanted to show our different award holders who are, you know, had their purple plaques put on there. You can see Chen, you can see Fanzi on here as well, and they basically, we unveil purple plaques across schools in schools across the UK. And the reason for this is that we found that a significantly low number of women were represented on the blue plaques across the UK. So we wanted to do something to address that and really showcase the fantastic women out there who are innovators, who are leading their way in their innovation sector. And these award holders do deliver assemblies and practical workshops to inspire the next generation, and they are inspirational. And they are the role models, and they're there to challenge perceptions and chat on who an innovator or entrepreneur is. And of course, they have many of our award holders have worked with Founders for School, signed up for the platform, and had other opportunities to work with young people to inspire the next generation. Next slide, please. So what's the commitment? It's a 12-month project. 1st of April 2023 is when your project must start, and there is a £50,000 grant, but it's not just about the grant. It is also about the personal support that we provide. You're also required to attend 2 boot camps over 1.5 days. Each one will be in March 2023. The next will be in September 2023. And these boot camps provide an opportunity to not only connect with your peers and meet each other. We are holding the next one in person, so you know, in-person events are happening again, so it's brilliant. But it also gives you an opportunity to practice. There'll be sessions on there dedicated to what you guys need. This is something that Veronica runs, gathers information to really understand what support is needed and what you would benefit from the boot camps. Also, be fully committed to work as a role model as well, up to 5 days during over the duration of the award. Next slide, please, Chloe. And just to give you an idea of the projects we won't fund. So for a start, those who do not intend to use the full package support on offer. So in your application, we want you to make it clear, not just about the grant, but also about the personal support and across the board. So you need to, you know, showcase both sides of things. anything that will have a negative impact on the environment and society, or have a detrimental impact on equality, diversity, and inclusion. We do not involve any research and development or innovation. We will not fund projects that do not involve any research and development or innovation. For example, the creation of information-only websites. So it has to be something that's research, development, or innovation. That do not meet the competition eligibility or scope. These are clearly set out on our competition page. And if you do have any questions, just email support@iuk.ukri.org, and we are more than happy to help. Involve exports or imports, involve primary production in fishery and aquaculture, involve primary production in agriculture, and are not allowed under the de minimis regulation restrictions, and are not allowed under special drawing rights. And I've had already quite a couple of questions about that, and that's about, so when it comes to de minimis and special drawing rights, it's quite complicated. It's about subsidized funding that is provided through the government and there are EU programs within that. So if you have received any funding in this respect, there is a limit to how much you're allowed to receive over a certain time. So please do double check if you have or have not received. And private investment does not count in that. So if I'm wrong, please, someone else please correct me. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Dawn Manser, my colleague, who is the expert here and our portfolio manager. Go ahead, Dawn.
Hi, thank you very much. Right, eligibility criteria. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this competition does allow you to submit a previously submitted application. A previously submitted application is an application Innovate UK judges as a not materially different from one you have submitted before, but it can be updated based on the assessor feedback. Next slide, please. Thank you. For this competition, you must be a woman founder, co-founder, or senior decision maker within a UK registered micro or SME business that has been operating for at least 1 year by the competition closing date. You must be a resident in the UK, you must carry out your project in the UK, and you must exploit the results from or in the UK. The total grant is £50,000. The project length is 12 months, starting on the 1st of April 2023 and ending on the 31st of March 2024. Next slide, please. So to help you understand whether you're eligible to apply, we have created an eligibility tree. If you follow the link to the Innovation Funding Service, it will help you understand whether you're eligible to apply for this competition. You should make sure that your organisation is eligible before you submit an application. If you are successful in the competition, we will carry out viability checks. Next slide, please. So on the 1st of January 2021, the UK left the EU and is no longer subject to EU laws on state aid. And on this slide, you can see a link to the guidance issued by BEIS. If you're unsure whether you're eligible to receive subsidy, please seek legal advice. And further information is available on our website, and you can also contact our customer support service team if you have any questions. So in particular, next slide, please, sorry. The grant funding is being awarded as minimal financial assistance, known as MFA, which was previously referred to as special drawing rights or SDR. So this funding mechanism allows enterprises to receive up to £315,000 in a rolling 3-year financial period. And to receive any money as MFA, you have to declare any prior funding given to you under SDR or de minimis within the applicable period. So in limited circumstances, your funding may be classed as de minimis, and please refer to our general guidance for more information on this. And there is a declaration form within the application questions that you have to complete, but we'll come to that later. Next slide, please. Before making an offer, we have to carry out health checks on your organisation. And a going concern is a business that is assumed will meet its financial obligations when they fall due. It functions without the threat of liquidation for the foreseeable future. You should make sure your organisation is eligible before you submit an application. If you're unsure whether you're eligible to receive subsidy control, please seek independent legal advice, and further information is available on our website, and you can also contact our support team if you have any questions. Next slide, please. And next slide again. Thank you. For applicants who are conducting activities that will affect the trade of goods or electricity between Northern Ireland and the EU, as envisaged by Article 10 of the Northern Ireland Protocol, you must apply under European Commission state aid rules. There is a question about this in the project details section of the application, and this means you would receive your grant under the de minimis funding mechanism instead of MFA. Next slide, please. So making more than one application, you can only make one application for yourself. More than one woman working within the same organisation can apply. The awards are for individuals, but this does not prevent you from working on the project with others. Next slide, please. So other Innovate UK projects, if you have an outstanding final claim or independent accountant's report known as an IAR, or a live Innovate UK project, you will not be eligible to apply for this competition as the lead or a partner organisation. We will not award you any further funding if you applied to a previous competition as the lead or sole company and were awarded funding by Innovate UK but did not make a substantial effort to exploit that award, or you applied to a previous competition as the lead or sole company and failed to comply with the grant terms and conditions. Next slide, please. So these are the key dates to bear in mind for this competition. It's important to note that the submission deadline is 11 AM on the dot. IFS will automatically close. So as Fanzi has already mentioned, if you apply at 11:01, applications can't be submitted. We strongly recommend that you submit your application as early as possible, as traffic will be high on deadline day. And please contact customer support in advance of the deadline if you experience any difficulties with submitting your application, so we can assist you in good time. Next slide, please. Next slide again. Thank you. So to apply for a competition, the lead applicant will need to create an account. If you have applied for previous competitions on IFS, you can simply sign in. If you've forgotten your password, please click the Need Help Signing In or Creating an Account drop down, and this will bring you to the Forgotten Password link. You can use Companies House lookup to search for your organisation to save typing in the name and address. And if you're not on Companies House, you can manually enter your information. We advise that research organisations and academics and unis manually enter information so you're not listed as a business on IFS and ensure you receive the correct funding. Next slide, please. So overview of the first section, which is project details. So subsidy basis, please list where your partners in your project are based. This is not applicable for any academic partners, but also for all other partners in your consortium will need to answer this question. So the EDI survey, this must be completed. Project summary, highlight the need or challenge, approach and innovation and the outcomes. And it's key to setting the scene for the assessors as it gives them an overview of your vision. So public description. So this is published if your project is successful, so please be aware of confidentiality. And scope, it's important that your project is within scope to receive funding, so please use this field to justify how your project fits the scope for assessors. If you're unsure as to whether or not your application is in scope for this competition, please do contact customer service. Next slide, please. To complete the finances section in your application, you must enter your full project costs and make sure the funding you are claiming is no more than £50,000. If you claim more than £50,000, you will not be eligible on your application or will not be sent for assessment. Next slide, please. So just quickly back to the questions section. So questions 1 to 7 are not scored. Question 2 is the MFA declaration, which we'll go over in the next slide, and all organisations named within the application and requesting the funding will need to complete one of these forms, and these forms are an important requirement for eligibility. Question 8 is a video submission. Questions 11 and 12 have appendices limited to 1 page each and 10 megabytes in size. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick overview of the 3 crucial parts of the MFA declaration form. The form will be a template that you'll need to download from the question in IFS. You complete it and then upload it back into the question. First, you need to tick a box to confirm you have or have not received any MFA, which was previously referred to as SDR, or de minimis funding in the applicable period, which is defined in the form. If you tick yes, you will need to provide the information in the grid. Which organisation or public body awarded you the funding? How much did you receive in pounds? If you received de minimis funding in euros, then please state that amount in the third column and then add the date you're awarded this money. A calculator link is available on the form, which can be used to convert any de minimis funding which you have previously received to pounds sterling or euros, and instructions on how this calculator must be used are also provided on the form. All partners within the project must complete one form each. You can collate all forms to upload as one attachment. However, each partner organisation must sign individual declarations. Finally, and very importantly, you need to sign the form. Type in your organisation name and your own name and add a signature either as an image or typed in and the date. And the form will not be acceptable if you miss any of these steps out. Next slide, please. So to claim funding, your business does not have to be UK registered with Companies House when you apply, but it must be registered before you receive funding. If you're unable to, you're unable to claim funding if you're an overseas organisation. So if your company number begins with FC, your organisation is set up as a branch, so your company number begins with BR. You are a collaboration with no formal structure or ownership or control, so your company number begins with ML. You are a Crown dependency, so if you're based in Jersey, Guernsey or Isle of Man. Next slide, please. You're also unable to claim funding if your company is based in any of the British overseas territories. Next slide, please. So labour costs. Enter the role within the project, the gross annual salary, the number of staff and the days to be spent on the project. It will then automatically calculate the total costs. If you have multiple people in the same role on the same average salary, enter this in the role within project field. If an employee is part-time, you should enter their costs as full-time. You can adjust the working days per year from the default if this is different for your project. Please note that dividends, bonuses and non-productive time cannot be included within your labour costs as they are ineligible. When making grant claims against labour costs, actual cost claims must be supported by timesheets. Next slide, please. We define overheads as additional costs and operational expenses incurred directly as a result of the project. These could include additional costs for administrative staff, general IT, rent and utilities. You can select from the three options you can see on the screen how you would like your overheads calculated. We class indirect administration overheads as those costs associated with back office functions such as finance, HR, whose primary function is to support the running of a business. They can only claim a portion of their time and their work needs to be additional to the delivery of the project and not BAU. Typically, these costs are not directly related to a particular product or service production. So direct overheads are costs associated with staff working directly on the project. So for example, laptops, desks, office facilities, and we supply a simple form into which you can list out each type of direct overhead together with a methodology basis of apportionment to this particular project. Again, these overheads would not be incurred if the project does not happen. Next slide, please. So enter and describe what materials you intend to use on the project, the volume and the costs. The materials listed must be project specific and please provide as much information as possible. So for example, just put in consumables at £50,000 doesn't provide enough detail and you'll be required to provide more information from the project finance team if you are successful. So any items which you would usually depreciate as per your company's policy should be listed in capital usage, and materials supplied by associated companies or subcontracted from other consortium members, and these must be listed at cost, excluding any profit element or margin. Next slide, please. Here you'll need to describe how you're using the equipment, whether it's new or existing, the new purchase costs, how long you are depreciating it over and the residual value at the end. And these calculations will need to be in line with your accounting practices. Next slide, please. So subcontractors, if this cost is going to be significant, you'll need to justify who, why, and what you need them for, both here and in your application. It's important that you justify the use of subcontractors within your application, specifically those that are non-UK based, as the assessors do not see this level of financial detail, they only see the total cost. If you use a parent or sister company, please ensure you list at cost and do not include profit. Next slide, please. Here you would include things such as essential meetings that need to happen during the project. You cannot include any sales and marketing activity as this is ineligible. Travel costs must be economy travel only, and you should be prepared to provide a breakdown of these costs if the project finance reviewer asks for more detail. For example, they might require you to split a trip into subsistence, accommodation and travel components. Next slide, please. So other costs, please check the finance guide for what costs can be included here. If you're unsure, please do not hesitate to contact customer support. Any other costs which don't fit the previous categories, for example, training directly attributable to the project, licensing new technologies, patent filing costs for new IP, so SMEs, that's up to 7,500. And please ensure there is no double accounting and all costs are justified. Next slide, please. So this is a summary of the project costs available to all organisations on the project. You'll not be able to see any more detailed breakdown of anyone else's costs, and this is also what the assessors see. So this is important. Ensure the highlighted costs fits the criteria for this competition with a maximum total grant of £50,000. Next slide, please. So IFS does not validate project costs. It is your responsibility to ensure all costs are within the eligible total project costs as stated in the brief and guidance. Next slide, please. So if you find you need to edit your application once it's been submitted, then this is possible. First, you need to reopen your application. On your IFS dashboard, you'll see the option to reopen as shown on the slide. And the option to reopen is also visible on your application status page. Once reopened, you can make changes to your application, but when you've finished, please remember to resubmit. Just click on the green review and submit button, review your application once more, and then click the final submit button. Next slide, please. So this is my favorite slide. We are able to track site usage and submission uploads. This table shows the number of applicants submitting their proposal each hour leading up to a previous noon deadline. As you can see, the majority of applicants leave it to the final hours. We strongly recommend submitting your application early in good time to avoid any last-minute technical issues. Next slide, please. Sorry, assessments. Next slide, please. So assessments, how our assessors assess. All applications are assessed by an independent pool of assessors drawn from industry and academia. And we require our assessors to maintain confidentiality and declare any conflicts of interest, ensuring a fair and transparent process. Assessors are enabled to contact you regarding your application content, and therefore your application should contain a justification for a viable opportunity for growth and a level of innovation that necessitates public investment, clear and concise answers, the right amount of information, and no assumptions. And we recommend you review the competition brief and guidance for help. Next slide, please. So how are successful applicants selected for funding? So the assessors will score each selection of your application, and after the assessor process, Innovate UK will independently moderate assessor scores, and any outliers in scores may be removed and your total score will be updated. You will then receive an email notification to offer grant funding or inform you that your application has been successful on this occasion. Whether successful or unsuccessful in receiving grant funding, you will receive feedback on your application, and I think that was mentioned in the discussion earlier. It is intended to be constructive in nature and to highlight both the strong as well as the weak areas of your application. Next slide, please. So interviews. If you are invited to progress to interviews, you can bring up to 2 people to attend the interview. You'll have 10 minutes to present a maximum of 10 PowerPoint slides with no videos or embedded links. There's a 20-minute Q&A session led by members of the panel. You'll have the opportunity to respond to the assessor feedback, so the panel can read that prior to the interview. And the response to feedback, presentations and presenter names have to be provided ahead of the interview. Next slide, please. So if you are unsuccessful in this competition, you can use the feedback from the assessors to develop your idea and apply into another competition that allows previously submitted applications. And if you are successful in this competition, you'll be assigned a delivery executive who will guide you through the project setup process. You'll have 30 days to complete the project team, project details and bank details. And then you'll have 90 days to complete the project setup, and funding may be withdrawn if this is not completed within the timeframe. Next slide, please. So project setup, all communication will be through the IFS. The lead applicant must provide collaboration agreements and exploitation plans if applicable. Any partners with individual total costs up to 50,000 must provide evidence with a SOE, and any partners with individual project costs over 50,000 must provide evidence with an IAR. So project delivery, all grants are paid in 3 increments, April, October of next year, and at the end of your project on receipt of a completed state of expenditure by April 2024. Claims can only be made for costs incurred and paid within the project start and end dates. And monitoring of the project includes a visit from the appointed monitoring officer. Next slide, please. Additional support. Next slide, please. So Innovate UK Edge offer bespoke growth and scaling support at the business end of innovation. Next slide, please. So an innovation and growth specialist for scale-up directors works with the company's leadership to hone its commercial strategy and help to take targeted action. So for example, build investment readiness, manage innovation effectively and enter global markets, and provide a local to national to international growth and scaling support. Next slide, please. So these are some useful contact details for you, some of which you may be familiar with. So we've got the Innovate UK customer support services. There's a phone number there, open Monday to Friday 9 to 5, and the support email address. We have Innovate UK KTN and Innovate UK KT Edge. Sorry, Innovate UK Edge. Thank you. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dawn. We do have time to take some questions, Dawn, if that's okay with you, if you're still available to stay with us a bit more. So we can dedicate around 13 minutes or so for questions. So we do have many questions in the Q&A. I know my colleagues replied to some of those questions. So let's take some questions from here. Someone is asking, the eligibility criteria just states the business must have been operating for 12 months. It doesn't mention any of the things mentioned here about business bank account and that we can't be pre-revenue. I don't know if you have any comments on that, Dawn.
Yeah, so it must be registered at with Companies House for 12 months.
Okay. One more question. I have 3 questions. We have applied for the Innovate UK Fast grant. Results of application is 8th of September. If successful, the project will run from November to 1st of April 2023. Can we still apply for the grant if we are successful?
If it's materially different, if it's a different project, or is it the same project? You can't be, if it's the same project, then no. You can't.
Yeah, so if it's the same project, you can't apply. It has to be a different project for women in innovation. And I think there's also the MFA question part of it as well, because they fall under an MFA, which I always forget what that actually means, even though I've just said it many times. MFA is limited to £315,000 over 3 years. From what I understand, Fast Start is 25 to 50k for a 6-month, 3 or 6 month project. And therefore, unless you've had other ones as well, you should still be eligible for this because it's 50k, so you won't go over that limit. But as Dawn said, make sure your projects are different. You cannot apply for the same project.
I think you could probably apply, can't you, but just can't be successful.
Yeah, you will be ineligible. So at that point, you can apply, but you'll be ineligible because it's the same project.
Okay, and someone is asking the following. You say the company need to be operating for a year. and then you don't have to be registered before the submission of the application. Can you please clarify this? I'm not sure if that's
Hasna, can you help with that one? Or
So Dawn, you said that at one of the first slides that you showed that they need to be registered with Companies House after they can be registered with Companies House after they've actually submitted their application. But we do ask them to be so I think that was there's a bit of a miscommunication there, because on the brief we do state they need to be a UK registered company that's been operating for 12 months, almost years, not years, months. They are so you have to be a UK registered company. And you need to be a senior decision maker, as a woman, co-founder, or senior decision maker within your organization. I've also had a question which I haven't been able to answer about if your account has been dormant. Unfortunately, you need to show that you have been financially active as well within those 12 months. We do ask for evidence in that case as well. Right, yeah.
Thank you very much. Someone is asking for us to expand on, when you said that it does not involve import and export in your slides, Dawn.
that'll be a question for customer support, I think.
Yeah.
So you can contact support at iuk.ukri.org for the complete answer on why we don't fund export import. Your project must be carried out in the UK. So if you are just using the funds to import something that you are doing in another country, we will not fund that. So that you must carry out the project in the UK.
Thank you very much. Someone else is asking, do you need to be self-employed for the duration of the project, or can you be employed and work on your startup at the same time?
As long as you meet the other eligibility criteria, I don't think there's any issues with having employment. We all have to live somehow, and if your business is not making money right now, you obviously need to pay bills somehow. But yeah, you must meet all the other eligibility criteria.
Thank you very much. Another question, can you add subcontractors who are supporting you in the project? 1
sec, I can actually pull up that exact wording. I think it is a yes to subcontractors. I just need to make sure I don't get it wrong. So they are allowed in this competition. Subcontractors can be from anywhere in the UK, and you must select them through your usual procurement process. You can use subcontractors from overseas, but you must make the case in your application as to why you cannot use suppliers from the UK. Okay, so subcontractors are allowed, and you can also subcontractor costs must be justified and appropriate to the total project costs. So that is covered in the brief, in IFS.
Thank you very much. Someone is saying this is so overwhelming. I mean, we feel
I'm so sorry.
It's so much information, right? If there is is there support available for help with doing the form?
Okay, so unfortunately, we do not provide one-to-one support. We do receive over 800 applications for this competition in some years, not every year. And some, I can go through the data on each year if you want, but last year it was around 800. So unfortunately, can't give that one-to-one on how to actually write an application. There is a number of different support available outside of Innovate UK. So you do have Innovate UK Edge. There are organisations across the UK and some councils that actually provide support on how to write an application for Innovate UK. I've actually seen this for Norwich Council, and there will be others as well across the country if you can find it. But we also have 2 Q&A sessions. So if you want, and they are on the 31st of August, right, Veronica, and
11th of October.
11th of October. And that is an opportunity. So if you have a look at the forms beforehand, come to the first Q&A, come with your questions. It's an open session, and anyone can join who's interested in applying and just ask us questions. If there's loads of you there, we'll try and answer as many as you can. If there's a few of you there, there's a bit more support. But there are dedicated sessions for that. We also have dedicated resources from the last year. These 3 wonderful videos that we've updated to cover the competition for this year. I'm not sure where we are with those, Veronica. They are going to be available by the opening date by the 22nd of October.
Or after, they will be open for sure, as soon as possible during the competition time. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're 3 videos, over an hour each, going into detail about the application. So I would definitely recommend, they'll be on the KTN website, so please do take advantage of those resources, because they're fantastic, which is why we're using them again, but we wanted to ensure they were updated to reflect any changes we've made for this year's competition.
Thank you very much. More questions here. Let me choose some of them. Someone is asking if they can see an example of a video that has been previously submitted. I assume the answer is no, but please.
No, the videos are private, as you can understand. These are people's business ideas. These women are, we've got the same for the Young Innovators competition. They are their business ideas. We do not want to share their intellectual property, and it is completely confidential when we receive those as well. So we do not share the videos. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Someone is asking, I have been using a personal account to my business. My company has been registered for over a year, but is not a business account. I'm not sure. Will this technicality mean I can't apply?
Dawn, can you answer this one?
Yeah, I think you have to have a business account. You can apply, but if you're successful, you will need to set up a business account.
And we did have Women in Innovation Award holders set up business accounts after they were received the letter saying that they've been awarded. But you need to have it set up before the project starts. So you will be notified in December if you're successful at the end, but you need to have a business account set up before the 1st of April. So bear in mind, you do have a shorter window.
Thank you very much. More questions. We have 4 more minutes. We will take a couple more questions. If your project will cost more than £50,000, but you will fund the difference by other sources, where do you outline this?
So that is okay, that you are eligible. So when you fill in your project, I don't know if Dawn, you want to go with this because you're more the expert actually, or do you want me to just talk?
No, go ahead, please.
So when you do complete the form, you can write, there's free text available, but when it comes to the financial part, you need to make sure that what you're claiming for the grant is 50k, because I know your project overall can cost more, but there's a particular field, and this is where it's caught out a few people in the past. They put in the wrong amount. They tried to claim for 300,000, and it's 50k. So there are opportunities to put in what the grant will be, and you can explain in the actual application briefly where you're going to get the other funds from. You don't need to go into detail, but that is covered. And then if you are successful at that stage and you go to interview, you may be asked again, just to make sure that the project is going to run. So if you can, of course, apply if your project is more than 50k, but 50k is the limit.
Mm-hmm. And a couple of viewers are asking about the interviews, if they can be done in person, or if it's mandatory for people to to do it in person, or if this can be done remotely, if at this stage.
They'll be virtual.
Yeah.
It makes it easier because our interviewers will be up from across the UK, as will our award holders. And it is done over a 2-week period. We've extended the time period because it's quite hard to get so many people in. But we also understand how difficult, traveling for a few hours, it is going to be quite challenged, or even just a half an hour interview. So we're sticking to virtual to make it accessible, hopefully to all.
Thank you very much. Another question, can you clarify the pre-revenue statement? You can be registered with co-house and be pre-revenue. I'm not sure if I understand really this question properly. Rachel, if you would like to add, a question in more detail in the chat, that would be useful. If our project is already established, do we apply on the basis of how we will go forward between April 2023 and April 2024?
Yes, that's correct. So even though you've got an existing project, which you need to basically state what this money is going to be used for between that 12-month period, and what difference it's going to make, and what you can't backdate it to what you've done already. But yes, if you've started a project and you know what it's going to do, you need that money, then yes, you can do that.
Thank you very much.
Can't tell Dawn's expression, but I'm pretty sure I'm certain of this. Sometimes you do question yourself, no matter how many times you've done this. But hey, that's the whole imposter syndrome, right?
I would say to leave it here because I'm just conscious we're running out of time and there are many questions. What I can say is that you'll have loads of resources available, and once the application will go live next Monday and you will be able to access the funding service and to actually see all the questions, it will make more sense, I promise. And again, we will have many resources available, and I will run you through this in the next 7 minutes or so as part of my top tips and close. So yeah, just a big thank you to Dawn and Hasna. Thank you so much for your help and for your information today. So yeah, I will not keep you for more than, let's say, 5-7 minutes. I'm aware it's lunchtime, and it has been a long day so far. I would like now to offer a couple of top tips. Chloe, if you can please start sharing the slides. You can move on to the next slide. So before I go into the top tips, a couple of questions about Innovate UK KTN. Someone actually asked in the chat, what is actually the support that KTN provides. So in a nutshell, we exist to connect innovators with new partners, new opportunities, and new markets. In collaboration with Innovate UK, Innovate UK Edge, the Catapults, and other partner organizations, we accelerate innovation journeys for a better, more resilient UK economy and society. As part of our network so far, we have over 46,000 unique organizations and over 234,000 innovators. And we are also connected to every university in the UK. So more specifically, we can help you identify your next steps in your business innovation journey, and we can put you in touch with the right opportunity for you. So please do reach out for any support you might need. We are always happy to hear from you and to identify where we can help. And as part of our basically contribution to, specifically to the award holders, we basically embark you on this journey for the duration of the award, and we deliver, the 2 boot camps aimed at equipping you with the skills and the connections that you need to thrive in your journey. We deliver different training events as well, networking events, and we also, again, we do our best, as I said, to connect you with suitable partners, because of course it's important, for us to open some doors for you as well, and to make use of our great networks. If we move on to the next slide, specifically on a couple of, more than a couple, actually 10 tips for you. So first of all, as my colleagues mentioned as well, it's important to make sure that that you are eligible, that you fit the competition. So please read all the information carefully and make sure you do fit the competition. Because if you are not eligible or able to commit to the program, or this program will not provide benefits to you, this is probably not the right competition for you. And there are many other Innovate UK grants and accelerator programs available out there that might be more suitable for you. More than happy if you email me to direct you to some of those. Also, it's important to read the instructions carefully. Some questions have set dates or amounts that you need to enter, as Dawn mentioned, and it's important to not be caught out for a little mistake. Make use of all the information provided and give yourself the best chance to be shortlisted for an interview. Another important point to make is make sure you are clear, concise, and realistic. It's important that anyone can easily understand your idea. Keep the points that the question is asking, and also try not to use acronyms or technical jargon, assuming that the assessors are experts at everything within your subject and field. The fourth one is about working through your idea and plan it out. This will help you outline your game plan, think through the risks, and identify the impact of the award. It's important to be realistic about what you can achieve in the 12 months and what the £50,000 and the available package of support will enable you to achieve. Also, it's important to be convincing. Do your best to write a proposal that excites and inspires, and most of all, convinces the assessors that your application is worth funding. And I guess this goes back to what we discussed during the panel session. To believe in yourself, to believe in your idea, and be convincing when you pitch that business. Another important aspect to take into account is, and one of the award winners mentioned that it's important to be unique, to show your personality, because the awards aim also to find great role models. So make sure you showcase your uniqueness and how you would stand out as a role model. It's important to think about your strengths, your weaknesses, as well as your journey so far and your longer term destination. Now, as a woman myself, it is not always easy to see ourselves as role models and to pitch ourselves. Please remind yourselves of this. And if you have the chance, you can even ask a close friend or a colleague or a relative on how they see you as a role model. I think this can bring sometimes insights and can help. Also, it's important to provide evidence wherever possible. For example, if you provide a statistic, please make sure that you mention where you found that statistic, and also that is from a credible source, which is also important. Number 8, check all the deadlines and dates, make a note of them and start planning and writing your application as soon as possible. As Dawn mentioned, please don't leave it until the last days, but also don't rush it though, because there is no benefit in submitting it early either, but make sure you are ready to submit it at least, I would say, a couple of days before the deadline, which is 19th of October, 11 a.m. Also, if you can get advice and feedback where needed and utilize the support and resources available to you. Remember, this is a very competitive process. For example, last year we've had 836 applications, so that shows the popularity of the program. Don't miss out on opportunities to improve your application before you submit it. It's important to have the time to have someone else ideally read through the final draft, again, a critical friend or a colleague or a relative. And also we encourage you to make use of all the resources and support available. So for example, we will have very soon an FAQ page available containing an accessible video too, so that you can listen to all the questions and answer. We will have, as Hasna mentioned, valuable material in place containing insights into scoping the project you are looking to get funded, presenting your value proposition, packaging your project, and also about how to use a risk register. And we are also going to deliver the 2 Q&A drop-in sessions aimed at answering further questions and guide you so that you feel prepared to complete your application by the deadline. And we will mention all these resources in our thank you email, so please keep an eye out for that. And last but not least, again, don't leave it too late to ask any questions you might have and to submit. The competition closes at exactly 11 a.m. on 19th of October, with no exceptions. It would be great if you can actually add it in your calendar so that you have it as a reminder. And likewise with questions, Innovate UK customer support service team work. The team customer support service team, they work regular business hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, and can have hundreds of emails and phone calls per day. For example, asking a question via email the Saturday before the deadline is unlikely to be responded to without enough time for you to make use of the information before the competition closes. So make sure for any questions you might have, please contact the dedicated team with enough notice. And this is everything from me and from us today. Please do reach out and stay in touch. I would like to say a huge thank you to all those who made this event possible for us all the speakers, collaborators, including my colleague Chloe from the events team behind the scenes today, our colleagues from marketing who did a great promotion activity for all of you to hear about this event. And yes, just best of luck in all your meaningful projects and in your Women in Innovation application if you decide to apply. And yes, please do reach out for any questions, any support we can offer. We're happy to do so, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.